Hear that? No sirens, no cars. It's a brief moment in the suburbs without any loud sounds, except my air conditioner running, trying to keep up with the hot temperatures. Because it's been pretty damn hot in Portland, and I love it. I've had no problem with this long run of heat here. I live in the Willamette Valley in Vancouver, Washington, right across the bridge from Portland, and work in Portland. So I drive across the bridge every day, and I see the Mount Hood down the Columbia Gorge, and I have extreme gratitude for it every time. Sucks when I can't see it because it's a little smoggy, but come the fall and the spring, it's super crystal clear, and you can see all the glaciers on it. And you know, nature never ceases to amaze me and surprise me and motivate me like nothing else. Like just walking in the woods, looking at the trees, seeing the plants. At one time, I thought maybe it's just that novelty. Maybe it's just the novelty of not being out there very often, or maybe it's the nostalgia because my father took me camping and he died when I was, about 14. So I never really, I kind of associate him with camping in the outdoors. Or maybe it's just because of that clean air. It's all of the above. Being out in the woods, or even being at a park surrounded by trees in a place where I know that there's houses out of sight, it's something to behold. There's a reason why Central Park exists, and it's a huge park. I know this is pretty obvious to most people, but if you've ever really looked at Central Park and you see the size of it and how much space it takes up in such prime real estate, let that be a lesson to the people that humans do care about their green spaces. And even though there might be a lot of crime over there and problems, I've never been to New York, and I've never been to Central Park, but I've seen it in the aerial photos, and it's huge. And in Portland, we also have in the West Hills we have Forest Park, which connects to Washington Park. It's the same type of thing, and it goes on for miles and miles. Otherwise, prime real estate set aside for people to have a green space, to walk in the woods, to take a deep breath and say, I'm away from houses and people. There might be a few here and there dotting the hills, but in general, most of the space is pretty empty, and it's set aside. What does that mean, for people? Especially when a lot of folks think that most people are greedy, that everyone just wants to make money, and that, everyone's a profiteer. We have people who, I actually have this wall plaque in my house, and it's from 1968, 3 or 68. I got it through a friend. Some drunk dude took it from somewhere. I don't even know, but it's a plaque that was given from Governor Kingo Machimura from Japan, and it was given to Tom McCall. Now, Tom McCall was the governor in Portland, but before that, he worked for the city, and I don't remember what he was, a planner or something like that. But he was the one who they named Waterfront Park after. If you've ever been to Portland and seen Waterfront Park, it's a huge, like 2 block wide by, 10, 12 block long green space on the waterfront that they have festivals, music, you can walk down it and hang out, and there's a fountain. It wasn't always like that. It wasn't planned that way. That used to be an actual highway. It was called Harbor Drive. Harbor Drive, I believe, was destroyed in the 60s when finally, planners said we can't have just roads going everywhere through Portland. We need green spaces. These were in the early days of automobiles. And I'm not trying to get off on a tangent about cars here, but just how having automobiles changed everything because of the lobbying within the automobile companies. They're the ones who said, hey, we need freeways. And there was also a subway in Los Angeles. A lot of people don't know this. There was a functioning subway in Los Angeles back in, I think, the 20s or 30s. And they shut it down completely. Who shut it down? What was wrong with it? Nothing was wrong with it. There was also streetcars, and they were working on a subway system. It was bought by the automobile industry. I don't recall which company, Ford, Chrysler, I don't even know if they were around yet. And basically bought out by the car lobby and destroyed. They literally buried and concreted up the entrances, and there are still subway cars down there underneath LA. The city could have been amazing, is the point. Could have been a wonderful place with lots of green spaces and parks and properly, you know, uh, I don't know. When you live in a city, you really kind of lose touch with that natural surrounding. And it drives people insane. And that's why we need even something like those little islands they put between roads. It seems so cheesy. What a waste of money to put in an island with little trees and plants. Its beautification actually has a purpose, but we need larger spaces than that. You can't just put little plants and some bark dust on the side of the road. So, you know, I think that people really yearn for that, you know, more of a return to kind of that natural surrounding, even if they don't know it. And it's become so bad that a lot of people are scared of the woods. They're scared to go out in nature. They're afraid of, you know, wild animals. You know, even out here, it's like the worst you're going to get is a few big mosquitoes in Oregon, right? A cougar attack is very, very, very rare. We only have black bears in Washington. I think there might be a few grizzlies up north, or mostly over in Montana, but they don't want to mess with you. The thing you find as a human is that nature does its own thing. The animals don't want to eat you unless they're starving. It's so rare, but people hear these stories about nature and they think that the woods is a scary place. And so many people go hiking and traveling all the time. On a side note here, I think it's important to realize the same thing happens in the city. You hear these stories about one part of North Portland where there's all these shootings, or oh my God, there were 2 shootings in one weekend. But then you go out and you travel the streets of Portland, you look around and you see, you know, the real world, and you realize there's not a lot of crime compared to how many people are out there. It's just like hearing about an accident and thinking, oh, people are shitty drivers, and realizing how many tens of thousands of cars drive down that stretch of highway every day, and one person crashed. I mean, humans are pretty capable. And so anyway, the reason why, and I wanted to make a final note about the subway thing, because, you know, I'm all about simplifying how humans live, eliminating the need for more gasoline, for burning more oil, you know, more coal. I'm a supporter of nuclear power, don't kill me, but I have a long explanation as to why. And but I also support, say, clean energy, you know, which I think might help our environment. But I realize it's being corrupted too. I know that solar panels are polluting to create. I know that they need to be transported and replaced. I know that windmills, we make them up here. Sometimes I get stuck behind one of those trucks driving up the freeway on the way to work, and they carry those giant windmill turbine blades. Each blade, mind you, when you see those windmills, each blade requires its own like double length trailer. Just each of the 3 blades. And the other part comes in these huge sections, and they are all transported on separate trucks. I don't know how many it takes, but at least 7 or 8 trucks to get one of those windmills up there. And they're huge, and there's a ton of them in eastern Washington. If you have a place that's windy, I think it's phenomenal for power. As for whether or not it is ugly on the landscape, I guess we have to discuss that on a different, you know, you can't always see pollution, but you can definitely see windmills. So I don't know, that's a tricky one. But anyway, I was thinking about oil, nuclear power, all the different forms we have of energy, and how when I mentioned the subway, the first thing I thought of is some idiot. No, that's not fair. It's not an idiot. Okay. Some disillusioned, some guy decides that he's going to build a underground system, just like a subway and just like a train, except for they drive just Teslas through it. And yeah, I'm talking about Elon Musk. Like, he's basically repeating and trying to replicate what they already had before, except the difference is that the tunnels are already there that we could work with. And we don't really need something to drive individual cars through. We need mass transit to get to places in LA and other places like that. So we can have more room for large parks. So I got cut off there for a minute, but the point was that we already have what we need to create green spaces within cities. In many cities in Europe, they've already done this long ago. They've taken out roads and made basically the center of the city a town square with trees and plants and bushes. Wow, imagine that, walking around. The whole thing is that the US has been designed, especially many of the major cities anyway, with suburbs where you commute for 20 minutes to a half an hour to get to the cities. It's ridiculous. And the same problem arises within those suburbs because of zoning. Suburban zoning doesn't allow for grocery stores or malls or anywhere to shop in those areas, and that's why they're suburbs. We've really zoned things horribly in America. Some places are better than others. We're trying to improve upon it. A lot of people talk a lot of shit about Portland because of all the bicyclists and it's the green city. You know, come check it out. It's not that bad. Yeah, we had problems. We've had riots, sure. We've had corruption and crime. We had skinheads in the 80s, but Portland is a very amazing town. It's not that bad. I think that most people who hate Portland, a lot of folks who talk shit about it have never been here, but a lot of people who do really just overthink the politics instead of how bad something affects them. However, I want to make this important note because I know people will be like, what about this? What about this? Those problems are in every city. It's getting worse. Crime, drugs, squatters. And I made a whole video about squatters the other day, and I cannot believe that someone can move in. If my family and I were to have an emergency and have to leave our home to go live with someone else to take care of a family member for 2 months, we came back to our home and somebody was living in it. They could answer the door, change the locks, and say, no, we live here now. And a person might think, no, you just call the cops and they'll get them out of your house, or you can just shoot them, or do whatever you need to do to get your house back. Legally, you cannot. Squatters' rights are universal in all 50 states in some degree. Literally, someone can take your home and you can't get it back just by coming home. It's crazy. I couldn't believe that. I just couldn't believe just how bad it was, and I thought about that. It's like, holy crap. No, that's not really on topic, but the reason why I was thinking about it is because I thought, I was talking to my wife, I'm like, you know, somebody could take over our house. I was like, you know, we've gone out camping and hiking and traveling, you know, in various backwoods and backcountry areas. You always see these farmhouses that have been abandoned, obviously, for years. These roads that have closed signs that are grown over. So if you were to pull over on the side of the road, and then you were to walk up to one of these houses and find a farmhouse that had been abandoned, maybe owned by the bank for 10 years, you could move into it, improve the land, and in 7 years you could sell it or own it and get a deed and a clear title for it. It's insane. But it's tempting. I'm watching this hummingbird pollinate these bulbs I have. They're shooting stars is what they're called. I'd turn the phone, but they'll probably be gone by the time I do. At any rate, that's my video for the day, and my second video anyway. I appreciate y'all listening, and I think nature's important. I'm fortunate to have a backyard. It's not big. It's like, what? I think it's like 90 feet by like 60 feet or something. But that's a big place, you know, to grow food. I've got, you know, my berries and my grapes. I'll show you my grapes before I go. I think Lucy wants to come out here too. She wants to check it out. Come on, Lucy, come check out the grapes. My backyard's not the cleanest. I'm sitting here with all these, Yum, that was good. Sorry, jasmine. Over here, I've got my strawberries. And this is the raspberries. These all just grew up this year. They all came from over here as starters. And those are finished. But you can see they still have some good raspberries on them. Yum. Actually, delicious. Check this out. A sticker bush grew in here, so I gotta be careful. Look at that. Yep. Last couple of years I haven't got a lot of grapes out of it. I don't know if the birds were eating it or if I just wasn't getting a good yield. What do you think, Luz? But this year I'm going to be making a lot of wine. A lot of wine. Well, maybe not a lot, but... Hey, clover. Honey clover. Sweet. Oh yeah, there's a whole bunch over here. Oh yeah, nice. Whoa. Yeah, down there. Ooh wee. Come back, Luz. Got a few weeks to go. So that's my ramble for the day. Thanks for coming along, and make sure that you get out and talk to nature. Have some fun. Talk to the plants. Get out there and do something. Go to the park. Just do it. I can't go till I show you my blueberries too. These are about gone now. But these artichokes, my dog Juno is buried here. About 3 years ago we buried him here. And we planted an artichoke plant on his grave, and it's put out 3 years worth of artichokes. Look at that thing. Wonder if these ones put out seeds. Probably not. At any rate, that's my video. And bye now. Thanks for coming along.